Hey everybody, welcome back to Mental Health Monday. I'm John Cothran, founder of Work It Out Counseling. Hey, please remember, our videos are not intended to replace a therapeutic relationship with a counselor. So, coming up on Friday is New Year's Day. So, Happy New Year's to everybody. Now, today we're going to have a special guest for this video. What we're going to do is I'm going to interview my youngest son about his dealing with ADHD. So, we hope you enjoy, and again, Happy New Year. Hey everybody. So I want to introduce our son Jeremy to you. He's 20 years old, almost 21, and he's a specialist in the United States Army. We're very proud of his service and everything that he does. And so we want to talk about ADHD today, Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder, with Jeremy, who grew up dealing with ADHD and who also deals with it now as an adult. So, Jeremy, if you would please, tell us what life was like growing up with ADHD.
Well, life was a little rough because I can't sit still, so teachers constantly calling mom and you say that I was being bad in class, or doctors getting mad because I was spinning in their chair because I'm bored in the office. And then growing up into middle school and high school, where my grades didn't necessarily drop, but my attention did, and it just got a little bit easier to cope and do stuff at the last minute, because I remember mom getting very mad that I would always wait for projects to be done at the last minute, because I don't work better under pressure. It's just pressure is the only time that I will be able to work. With the ADHD that I have, is very frustrating to grow up, but it can also sometimes be a superpower. If I'm really interested in something, I'll hyper focus and I'll take a deep dive into whatever subject or whatever game or book I'm reading, playing, or doing whatever.
Right. And I know that at one point we had received several complaints from schools, and we actually shifted you from public school because they would not allow you to stand up and learn that way. But when we shifted you to a private school here in Claremont, they actually allowed you to be able to stand up in class. And I know you were related to me one time about a substitute teacher. So what happened there?
I believe it was math class in 6th grade. I'd been at this school for 2 years already, and the teachers knew that I was the hyperactive one. I would stand in the back of class, as still as possible, but still standing up, so I could move my feet and my arms and stuff without being super distracting to everyone. And the sub comes in and she asks me to sit down, and I was like, no, I'm allowed to stand in the back of class. And she goes, can you not come sit down? And the rest of the class goes, no, he can't. And I think that was the moment I realized, at least looking back on it, is when I really noticed teachers and adults kind of putting, I guess, limits on me as well. As a kid who has limitless potential just because my brain doesn't fire its neurons right.
Right. So with the dealing with the ADHD, what does that feel like when you're dealing with that? Does it cause a little bit of anxiety or anger or resentment?
It can, especially when you're lying in bed or doing something that's not necessarily productive to what you want to be doing, but you can't shift your focus. It's not laziness because you want to do it. You're not hoping for someone else to do it. You know you have to do the laundry. You know you have to clean your house. You know you have to do your homework. But instead you're sitting on the couch scrolling through Reddit or your phone or whatever. And in the back of your mind, I know I shouldn't be doing this, but you can't shift your focus. So it's very frustrating. It's not a lack of discipline. It's just your brain can't shift that focus as easy as neurotypical brains.
Okay, so it's almost like you're going from wanting to go from what I want to do to what I know I have to do. And the have to do is not a want, so it's a lot easier to stay with the want.
Yes, that is exactly correct, until that have to do becomes urgent. So like a coping mechanism you could have is invite friends over, and then you'll probably need to clean your house, and that will become urgent for you to get those chores done.
That's a good idea. Invite friends over so you can get the house clean. Use the friends. Okay. So how about the medication? Did the medication help a lot or not much? From your experience?
I'm sure it helped a lot because when I would forget to take my medications, like 2 hours into school, all of my friends would go, "Did you forget to take your pill?" And I'm like, "Oh no, I did." So at least as a kid, it really helped me. It didn't make me into a zombie or make me not who I am. It just allowed me to sit down and focus on what I have to and shift my focus voluntarily. And then growing up into adulthood, I weaned myself off of it so I could go into the military. And that was a personal choice. I'm sure I could have gotten a waiver, but it was been a lot harder. But I made the personal choice. And it's always a personal choice to take those medications for the children and the parent who is deciding whether they are going to medicate their kids. But I really did need that medicine, and I was grateful that you guys made the decision to allow me to take the Adderall or Ritalin.
Right. And yeah, I know from my experience, I'm not a huge fan of medication unless it's needed. And in your case, it was needed. When I was growing up, the medication was grandma.
Yeah.
And a belt. That was my medication. We didn't have all the Ritalin and everything. Sometimes I wish we had, but it's okay. So what do you do now to be able to cope with the ADHD whenever it comes to needing to focus? Because I know you're in school and doing some extra things, along with your job. So what do you do now to be able to cope with that?
Like I said earlier, making things urgent helps. So I'll have my supervisors make me do something by timeline, or I will have them say, you need to do blank or you're getting a negative counseling, stuff that makes it to where I need to do this, it's urgent. Or even if I'm doing something for me, I'll probably procrastinate until the last minute. But if someone else needs something from me, I'll do it almost immediately. I can't promise it will be good because one of the side effects of ADHD is missing those small details. Sometimes I get in trouble for that at work, but I would just go over it over and over again. So I think a good coping mechanism is making it urgent. And then also, for a lot of ADHD brains, having a quiet room where there's no distractions. Leave your phone outside of the room. You can download apps, like I have one called Freedom that will block everything that you put on its list, and you can't unblock it until your time block is up that you set out for them to be blocked. So it takes the self-discipline to put it on your computer, but you also don't need to worry about, oh, well, I can just unblock them whenever I want. So even if you're done early, you still have maybe 30 minutes left to do something else with that time.
Okay, so it can be very productive. And for all the parents out there that just heard that, Freedom is the app that Jeremy uses to be able to make sure that he can focus on his schoolwork, because we do have a lot of kids today with COVID going on that are doing virtual things in school, and I'm sure that school is fairly boring over video, so they have the opportunity to be able to do other things while they're supposed to be watching the teacher. And that can be a little bit of a problem when it comes to grades.
It can be very frustrating for ADHD kids when we aren't doing as well in school as the other kids, or when we are doing very well. Like, I'm sure you remember I was a pretty good student, but with the ADHD, it just still makes it harder. So then you kind of set up yourself with expectations, at least for the teachers and the parents. And when you don't follow up on the expectations, it's not because you're a bad kid or you're a bad student. It's ADHD affecting the way you work. And for all the parents out there, it's not helpful to yell at their kids like, why can't you just focus on this? They can't.
Right. Okay, so we want to also talk about labels and limits. And a good example is even age. We can limit our kids. Jeremy here was, we were at a birthday party one time, and he was 5 maybe, very small. And he had found another kid's bicycle that was a full-size bicycle. And Jeremy brought the bicycle over to a rock and got the outside pedal pulled up to the top, and he put his foot on it and he pushed away from the rock and started riding the bicycle all over the yard until one of his brothers told him, Jeremy, that bite's too big, you can't do that, and he fell over. So automatically he had limited his brother's ability to be able to figure something out and to do it. Now, of course, as parents, we want to keep our children safe. So in an environment where things are safe, we can let our kids have the endless limit that they want. If they can figure out how to do it, then they can do it. Now, the question to the labels and the limits, have you felt labeled or limited at times dealing with the ADHD, whether at school or at home?
At home, not with you guys ever, because you and Mom were very open to whatever ideas or interests I have, because ADHD kids will go through a variety of interests. As soon as one stops being fun or creating that dopamine in their brain and being stimulated, they'll move on to something else. And almost every time I was like, I want to try this, you and Mom did whatever you could to help me facilitate that. And at school, at public school, yes, very much so, where it was limited by age, and I was the rowdy kid that none of the teachers liked. But as in private school, it was a lot more open, especially with the smaller classrooms and with the teachers that cared a little bit more, especially for theater. My theater teacher, Mrs. Miller, was very helpful and never put any labels on me except excellent actor. So, I'm just saying.
So that would be an example of a good label. And of course, we're talking about, we don't want negative labels on our kids. So, okay. Now, what about lists? Lists are helpful to you, right?
They are.
Okay.
I use them all the time. I write stuff down if I have a bunch of stuff I need to do throughout the day, it is all in list form, and I'll be able to scratch it off. That way I know I did it, because memory for ADHD brains is rough. So
Okay.
you might forget you did something, or you might think you did something and you didn't, and you'll find, oh no, my dishes aren't done.
That's pretty funny. Yeah. Okay. Well, Jeremy, I appreciate your time and, of course, your service. And thank you. And just really appreciate you being home for the last couple of weeks and spending time with us and everything.
Well, thank you for giving me a place to talk about ADHD and all the stuff I've learned from it.
Well, thank you for wanting to talk about it, because I know it's been a little bit of a struggle for you for much of your life.
That's true. Probably a struggle for you too, for you and Mom too.
It was a struggle with joy. So, okay, everybody. Thanks for watching, and if you like what you have heard, visit us online at www.wiomhc.com. Like, comment, and share on Facebook at Work It Out Counseling, and on Instagram at WIOMHC. You can also catch up on previous episodes on our YouTube channel. The link is in the video description. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.